Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and life coach Steve Rowell here. Today is Tuesday, March the 26th, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 12 noon in London, Sydney, Australia is at 11 p.m. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I have been having a kind of a happy week this week, Steve, because I've been trying your concept of the microshifting with attracting small and larger amounts of money. And by God, it's working. I love it.
Yeah, it certainly does work if you work with it. I think you've had some really big wins this week, haven't you?
Yeah. I was actually talking about it on yesterday evening's podcast, but I'll reiterate again that what I had done after we had talked last Thursday, I decided, okay, I'm going to give this a try, and I think you recommended starting at like 5 or 10 pounds or $5 or $10. And I decided $10 was bare minimum. I decided to make it $10 or a lot more. That was my initial goal to go for. And 2 days later, Louise and I went up to Vermont to visit friends of ours and have lunch and so forth. And while we were out for lunch, they paid for about $20 of our lunch, which was really cool, and that certainly met or exceeded the $10 limit. But then we increased it to a total of $50 because when I reached in my wallet to pay the rest of our part of the bill, I found that I had a bunch of 20s in there, or so I thought, and I pulled out one of them and found it was actually a 50, which was cool. I didn't expect that at all. I didn't think I had any 50s. So that gave me an extra 30. So 30 plus 20, that means I actually gained $50 for the day instead of $10 unexpectedly, totally unexpectedly. And I said, well, wait, that's a good result. I like that one. So the rule I knew was to double it. So I said, okay, I guess the next goal is 100. And said that, didn't give it a whole lot of thought until a couple days later yesterday. And after the morning podcast with Louis D'Souza, I took a phone call from a client of mine. For years, I've hosted a web server. I have my own web server. And I've had clients on there hosting their websites and their email and so forth. And I have this one client who by far is my biggest hosting client. Typically I charge like $10 a month to host a website and so forth. But this guy uses up so much disk space. It had gotten to the point where I was charging him $100 a month. Well, his office manager calls me up and says, Eric wants to double it. And I said, what? Yeah, he wants to double the amount of space on the server. So just bill us for the extra amount. So that gave me not just an extra $100, it gave me $100 a month and $100 a month over the course of a year, plus 2 extra months because it's 2 months until I would normally bill them. So I'm billing them now for their annual billing, and I'm going to collect an extra $1,400 on that one. So my $100 bill got exceeded by $1,300.
There you go.
So apparently the part about going for $100 or more, $50 or more, apparently the or more part is really, really important. I had no idea how important. Wow.
But what you're actually doing there as well, because this is something that my coach Dan, who came on the show a while ago, he taught me the money game and the concept behind it. Really, it's about you working out where your current belief system sits around what is possible for you to just manifest out of thin air.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what you've done there. So your belief system is actually quite a lot higher than you expected it to be.
Yes.
So yours is around about the $1,400 mark now. So now you can jump straight up to, I don't know, $1,500 and see what happens next. If then it might have just been a fluke, but I don't think it was because of what you've been doing. It's never a fluke. Then you can start that now at the $1,500. And go again and just see what happens. Put $1,500 or more. Mm-hmm. And did you celebrate every time this happened?
Well, that was the other thing because when I took the phone call, I almost blew off the result. I got off the phone and I said, "Well, yeah, that's just Eric being Eric again," and I didn't even realize, first of all, that I had hit my goal. I mean, it didn't even occur to me. And then after I realized it, I said, "Oh my God." I almost forgot to celebrate this thing. And I knew, I mean, we both know that's really, really important. That's how you build up the confidence, it's how you build up the excitement, the energy, the enthusiasm that you can carry on throughout the day and to other stuff. So after I got off the phone with him and took care of something I needed to take care of, I went into the kitchen to, because I always make I make a second breakfast. I do 2 breakfasts every day. Went to make my second breakfast. And when I was in there and I'm doing my eggs up and so forth, I looked around, made sure there was nobody around, and I started doing the stands. I started getting excited and jumping up and down, shouting like, "Yahoo! All right!" Did that for a few minutes.
But the whole thing about the celebrating, it isn't just about carrying the energy forward into the rest of the day. It's also about anchoring in to your subconscious.
Yes.
The fact that it's actually happened, you've actually created that wealth and that abundance through using that technique.
Mm-hmm.
So it anchors in. The subconscious has now got something to grab onto and go, right, okay, well, this actually works. It's real.
Right.
Rather than going back into the old belief system that it had before. That's the key. Because then once you've done that enough times, the subconscious is suddenly going, right, okay, give me more of that, give me more of that. So we're getting all these good feelings, these good chemicals, all these nice things coming into our awareness, our body, our mind, whatever you want to call it. And it says, Walt, do that again.
Yes.
Do that again, Walt. Please do that
Please.
again. The subconscious gets to the point. Yes, the subconscious gets to the point where it's just, wow, we've got to keep going. And then once you're at that stage, there's no stopping you. Then you just keep going and going and going. And it makes sense, doesn't it?
It does.
Absolutely, 100% makes sense.
It does.
For how your subconscious, behaves. So it's
and
right. I'm really excited for you because that's awesome.
You're right too, because when you have that real event, the kind that, wow, I mean, because I didn't expect that one at all. That was just completely. Sometimes you have a sense that something's coming. You like, well, I know I should get something at some point, that kind of thing. This one was just completely out of the blue. I had no idea this was going to come, and that made it interesting and fun and exciting. But more than that, it carried through so that periodically throughout the day, I didn't have to even work at it. It just came to me like, I had that really great thing happen. I mean, I had an extra $1,400 for the year come up. That's pretty darn good, I like that. That's good. And I think you're right. There is that feeling in, I guess it's in the subconscious. It's a deep down feeling for sure that this stuff is really working. Got to do it some more. I need more of that. More. I feel the addiction. I want more.
Well, actually, what you just said there, you said it's like an addiction. It is, because it's in essence what you're doing with your subconscious mind is exactly the same as if you were a cocaine addict or an alcoholic or a heroin addict, whatever. Because you're giving the subconscious mind something that it can latch onto, that it enjoys. So, for instance, someone who's a cocaine addict, cocaine releases dopamine into the brain, which makes it feel nice. Mm-hmm. So it wants some more, and some more, and some more. And this is exactly the same. You're releasing the same chemicals as the drugs.
Except that I don't have to spend the next 8 months in therapy. That's the only real difference.
Exactly, yeah. But also, you're getting these chemicals in your brain that it likes through doing things that are positive and that serve you in a way that, I don't know what the word is. Think of a word. But they serve you in a positive way so that you can move forward with your life, rather than in a negative way where you're spending all your money on drugs.
Oh, yeah.
But in essence, you're doing exactly the same thing. Mm-hmm. You're still releasing the same chemicals that the drugs will give you if you're addicted to those, but instead you're addicted to success.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
That's the best. There's nothing to exceed that as far as I know. And by the way, I'm not the only one who's having a great results report today, because from our live stream audience, Sarah wrote to us a rather lengthy comment. She said, "I want today to thank you guys for helping me to get my dream job." She said, "So I had an interview for the job, but wasn't successful the first time. But I was thankful and spoke to you guys on here for tips. I listened to your advice. I played out the interview and went into detail, etc., of how it would pan out. And then I and that I would get my dream job. And then I saw an advertisement for the job again, and I landed an interview again. So I'm so thankful for this new job, and I want to thank you guys for the help. And I know in my heart I am the perfect person for the job, and they're going to hire me. So
yeah, awesome, well
very
done.
good. All right,
there it is in action again. A law of attraction in action.
High five, Sarah. Way to go.
Well done. That's awesome. But this is what this podcast is all about, isn't it? It's about sharing techniques, sharing knowledge, sharing the way that this stuff works in a real sense rather than just in a textbook or somewhere you've read it. We can show you real examples that you can take away and you can use, and I think that's awesome.
It's fabulous.
It's a brilliant way. It's a lovely thing to be able to do. And then you get a comment like that where we've actually helped someone to do something amazing.
Oh yeah, that's as good as getting the unexpected money. It has the same feeling to it. You talk about the dopamine, the neurotransmitter coming in and giving you that good feeling stuff. Yeah, it's the same feeling. It's just different source. That's all. We talked.
Celebrating with you. Sarah, don't forget, go away and celebrate that.
Absolutely, Sarah, celebrate. Gotta jump up and down, keep celebrating. Yep. And do it again once they actually offer you the job. Just keep celebrating and celebrating and celebrating. It makes all the difference. No doubt about that. So let's talk about the microshifting process. Okay? Because that process is what I used, obviously, over the weekend. And it seems fairly simple on its face, and yet I can remember just from when I was taking it on for the first time on Thursday, there was a piece of me that was very doubtful of it. Not trusting it at all, and treated it as like, oh well, I mean, all I'm trying to do is manifest $10. I could probably come up with $10 somewhere. If necessary, I'll go to the bank and draw $10 out. It's not going to be all that difficult to manifest $10. But even so, there's the other piece of me that says, well, yeah, I could probably get 10. I could probably get 20, 40, 80. 160. Oh, now we're up to 320. Now we're starting to get into unbelievable territory. That's the way it felt, and to a certain degree still feels. So how do you deal with that? How do you keep going through all that? I mean, I know what I did is I just kind of dismissed that long enough to do the first step. But what do you do?
Exactly that. You focus only on the step that you're at now. Because if for example, if you were trying to manifest, I don't know, 50,000. That right now isn't believable for you.
Right.
So you're not going to sit there worrying about the fact that you can't manifest 50,000 because then you won't manifest 50,000. So what you do is you break it down into manageable chunks and you start off at a small amount that is believable. So even $5. But the beauty of it is you only need to focus on the step you're at right now, which is the $5. Forget about anything else. Mm-hmm. Just focus on the $5. Write down the statement. Today, I intend and create $5 or more to come to me in an easy and playful way.
Mm-hmm.
I am grateful. I am ready to receive and grateful. I can't remember what the rest of it is. I do this every day, and I can never remember the last bit.
That's an important phrase, though, the one that you use, an easy and playful way.
Yeah. So it's money that you have. It's got to be money that you haven't already got. So going to the bank and drawing $10 out doesn't count well. It's got to be money that comes not out of your own bank account, unless somebody else put it in there unexpectedly, then that's fine. But yeah,
I think I was just going on the notion that everything that comes into our life is a manifestation. It may not be unexpected, but they're all manifestations. So I figured, okay, well, that's a manifestation too.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing of it, the whole idea of it is that everything becomes expected.
Mm.
That's the place you want to be. You want to be expecting it to turn up, even if you didn't used to expect it to turn up. That's right. Where we want to get to with the microshifting.
Right.
So you focus just on the step you're on right now, and you wait for that to happen. That turns up. Celebrate the hell out of it. Now, it's the process of the celebrating that then anchors in that this stuff works.
Mm.
So then when you push it up to the next level, so from $5 to $10, the $10. Again, you're only focusing on the $10. You're not worrying about doubling up and doubling up and doubling up and doubling up to wherever you want to go to. You focus just on that one, and then as your belief in this process grows, you'll find that you can then start making bigger jumps because you're celebrating every time. So your subconscious is going, actually, this works now.
Mm.
It worked for the 5, it worked for the 10, it worked for the 20. Let's see if it'll work for 40.
Mm.
And then, right, it worked for the 40, I believe this now. So then you can probably jump it up to 250 or 400 and all of a sudden you'll find yourself going in bigger leaps. But then you'll get to a point where your subconscious goes, no, it's getting too thin now, and you'll drop back down. But if that happens, that's fine. You haven't taken a step back. All you do is just lower your amount slightly so that you're back in where your subconscious can, and then go through the process again, celebrate it again. Because sometimes once you start getting success, you'll forget to celebrate.
Yeah.
That's when it goes and back down again. Because you're not giving it those nice feeling, lovely chemicals that it likes. So it loses interest in a way and goes back to old belief systems. So it's about always celebrating. That's the main thing with this stuff, is celebrating it. But once you've got to a certain stage, you find that you'll just automatically start celebrating anyway. It all becomes habitual. Because currently, a lot of people habitually think in a negative way. So all we're trying to do really is switch that
right
to the opposite, and then have that as our state of being rather than the state of being that we've got currently.
Yes.
And that microshifting is an easy way for your subconscious to do that, rather than trying to jump straight from something where you are now to becoming a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
That's not conducive with how your subconscious mind works. So if you do it in micro shifts, because every little step forward is a step forward, it doesn't matter how big it is.
Isn't that true? Because it doesn't matter how much money you actually manifest. You still get the same dopamine. And the dopamine's always the same. It's not like it's a smaller size dose for a smaller amount of money.
Exactly. It's the same with anything. You manifest cars, houses, whatever it may be, a new partner. It all creates the same chemicals if you celebrate it. If you don't celebrate it, then why did you do it in the first place?
Yeah.
You obviously didn't want it anyway.
Or more precisely, you didn't realize necessarily that there was an importance to the celebration. You may not have realized that you have to celebrate in order to shift the mind. People, it's the most common question, how do I shift my mindset? But when it comes to actually doing it, we don't realize what's important about what we're doing and how we're doing it. We like you said, we become so habituated to thinking negatively that even when we're thinking positively, we're thinking negatively. We just slip back into it. So it becomes really important to deliberately, consciously focus on the celebration and getting excited and just jumping up and down and doing whatever it takes to do your victory dance.
Well, I had a client recently, and they were working through an issue, and it was to do with creating money around their business.
Mm-hmm.
So they were struggling to make ends meet with the business. They'd left a job and they'd started their own business, and it wasn't growing as fast as they wanted it to grow.
Right.
And they were worrying all the time about money, about not having enough money to keep going. So hence why they were creating this situation where no money was coming in from the business, or they were just managing to cover their costs.
So easy for us to see it from the outside. It's so hard to see it when you're in the middle of it, but it just seems so obvious to us.
This is why people pay for a coach, because
true.
They can then be from the outside and change the mindset. But the point with this was, this person was, when something didn't go their way, so for example, a client cancelled an order or something along those lines, and they didn't get the money that they were expecting, they'd go out and they'd have a drink of alcohol. So in effect, what they were doing, they were celebrating the negative things that were happening. Wow. They were giving the subconscious mind a reward for all the bad things that were happening in the business.
Oh my goodness.
Does that?
Yeah.
So more bad things came because the subconscious is going, right, okay, well, we're getting this nice thing every time something bad happens and we don't get any money, and every time we feel bad, then we get this drink of beer or wine or whatever. Isn't
that interesting? I got to touch on that for a moment here. Isn't that interesting? Because when we're not getting what we want, we feel bad, so we know we want to feel good, but the way we choose to feel good actually reinforces the bad thing. That's just that
Yeah.
talk about a double whammy. I mean, that's not even fair.
That is it. But that's what we do. We'll celebrate the bad feelings and the bad things that have happened by rewarding the mind with something to try and lift it back up. But actually, you're creating the opposite effect,
Yeah.
and you're making it more and more difficult for you to break free from that cycle.
That means there's an order
with that client.
That means there's an order to this.
What's that?
There is an order to this stuff. It isn't enough. I've been going on for the longest time on the idea that I just need to get myself into a good feeling place all the time. But that's not enough. You have to have an order.
No.
You have to have a positive result, even of the smallest kind, and then get yourself into the good feeling place. If you don't do that, you actually undermine yourself. That's big.
Absolutely.
That's a really important distinction. I don't remember anybody ever even talking about that. Abraham or The Secret or any of the gurus from the past. Tony Robbins or Dale Carnegie. I don't remember anybody talking about that. That's really critical. That's critically important. Wow.
It's absolutely 100%. You've got to do that, otherwise. You can attempt change as much as you want, but your subconscious mind's always going to win and pull you back down to where it was, unless you've given it a reason not to.
Yes.
You've got to give it a reason not to. Otherwise, why would it make that jump? Why would it make that leap to somewhere else if it's not getting any benefit from doing that?
Absolutely.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but the whole thing about. I was talking to Dan the other day, and we've gone off on a journey that's happening with me right now, and it's so unbelievable. In fact, I'm changing the way I behave, and I create my reality around certain things. Not all things right now, because I'm still working on some things. It doesn't all happen at once. But for some things, I'm able to literally wrap my reality around myself before I get there. So I'm walking through my day, and I know 100% what's going to turn up and what's going to happen. Or it does, because I've already played it all out in my mind. I've already given myself the celebratory feelings. This is where I'm trying to get to. Is I'm celebrating the things before they happen that I want to create. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is pushing it even further now, pushing it a little bit further.
Sure.
So you can shift your mind, but then you can, once you've got to a state where, you've managed to shift your mind to where you want it to be, now I can go and create the whole shebang of my reality around celebrating the things that I haven't got yet, but I believe that I have, because I'm already celebrating that I have got them. So the good feelings, good chemicals are there, which then create for me in front of me. Does that make sense? Did I explain that correct?
Well, what you're essentially saying is that you don't have to rely on an actual manifestation, however small, in order to have something to celebrate, so that you actually do celebrate and reinforce getting something that you were hoping for. You can imagine it and then celebrate what you imagined. And that has the same kind of effect as if you had actually manifested some small or even some large thing. The point is that you want to make sure that you either manifest it or imagine it before you do the celebrating, before you do the feel-good stuff.
Yeah. So it's already done in your mind, in your being, in your feelings before it's done.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then it just has no choice. It has no choice but to turn up.
Yeah.
If that's where that's what I'm working with now, because I've worked through. I think you've got to do the micro-shifting first of your mindset to get you to the point where then you can. This stuff just then clicks into place, and you're like, hang on a minute. It's like another awakening, if you like. All of a sudden, you're like, I can push this further. I can celebrate things before I've got them, so that they have no choice but to be here. And it's working. It's working to the extent of it's blowing me away mentally again, because I just get, I don't know, it's just odd. It's so, because this journey that we're all on is such it's such an eye-opening experience, more mind-opening experience, that you start to realise that the divine matrix, as I call it, is all malleable, and you can do whatever you want with it.
Oh yeah.
As long as your belief system allows that you to move forward with it.
Well, also, as long as we do it in the right order too. That's what my big revelation today is. We have to do it in the right order. If we don't do it in the right order, we mess it up. I mean, that's what the example of the guy who every time something went wrong, he went and have a drink, and the drink rewarded the fact that he got something that he didn't really want. That's the wrong order. He did things in the wrong order. He didn't realize he was doing it in the wrong order.
Yeah, but the beauty was when he had the realization, it was an instant change.
Mm-hmm.
Something's gone wrong. Don't go and drink. Let's try and make something go right and celebrate that instead.
Yeah.
So you started celebrating the little things
mm-hmm.
and stopped celebrating the bad things. And within a week and a half, his whole mindset had changed. He'd come on the call and he'd be like, "I got a new client, and they've given me this. I've got this order," and it was just so. It's such a beautiful thing to see when you see someone who's in a place of sort of helpless, just feeling a bit helpless, really, and
sure.
not knowing where to go and what to do, and moving from that to this place of joy, happiness, and everything's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Within a space of a couple of weeks, it's just lovely. It's something to be able to do.
Oh yeah, well that's why being a life coach is so rewarding for you, I'm sure. Now we got a couple of questions. Jason's asking a question that fits in perfectly with what we've been talking about, but he says, "What would be the most effective way to manifest the perfect apartment, if not a specific apartment, for my kids and I?"
I suppose that would be it's about being specific about what you want to start with. So, you need to go and look at some apartments, don't you, to find out what you want? Or unless you already know what you want, that's fine. Then you can
just make a list.
Really, imagine that. Yeah, make a list of what you want and go out there and start looking for the apartments. I'm still a big advocate. I mean, you can do this. You can try it my way and imagine it and then celebrate it before you got there. But I'm still a big advocate of going out there and using physical anchoring, which means you actually go and visit some apartments that are perfect, your perfect fit for what you want, sit in them, wander around them. Just imagine that you're already living there. Behave like you're living there. Sit on the sofa in front of the TV and things, and just feel, the emotions and the chemicals of being in that place that's perfect for you.
Right.
And then you've got that to anchor in later on when you're doing your visualization and then you're celebrating that you're already living there. So I'd still go and do that. Still go and do your physical anchoring. Nothing stopping you booking some viewings on places to. That are
sure
conducive with what you.
Why not?
And then after that, it's about using the microshifting. If you think it's out of your league and you can't get that, that's a limiting belief that you need to work on.
Right.
So, but going down the route of moving towards that which you want in small baby steps will eventually get you to where you want to be, because it doesn't have a choice. As long as you're celebrating every little success. So when you go and view these things, celebrate it.
So let's say, when we're talking about trying to manifest just a certain amount of money, we talk about let's microshift it. Let's start at a small amount and work our way up to that amount of money. With an apartment, it's not quite the same thing. You really can't just. You can't really start. Let's live in a matchbox first, and then work our way. It doesn't quite work that way.
It doesn't work the same way, but that's more about the physical anchoring, going out there and finding out what you want, and then focusing on it to create it. Because it doesn't matter. You don't need money. You don't need anything to be able to get what you want. The universe will show you a way to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that way is going to be. You don't know what that way is going to be. But
Nope.
there will be one that you haven't thought of that'll just turn up, as long as you're doing it in the right way. And it's about celebrating that you're already living there. That's the main bit. That's the main bit. You've got to get the feelings and the chemicals of being in that ideal apartment, so that you can use those to anchor in. whilst you're doing the celebrating. Otherwise, it's not going to, key up with it. And your mindset's got to be in the right place as well.
I think that is very important because Louise and I have done quite a bit of open house searching. Go for an open house on Sunday and pretend like we're there to actually buy the house and go for something that's way out of our price zone. But then forgetting afterward to celebrate as if we had just gotten the house. It's still a form of microshifting because I didn't actually buy the house, but I was trying to focus on having that house, and yet I wasn't celebrating it. Like, well, no wonder. You got to celebrate the thing, and it's a nice, cheap way to celebrate because you didn't have to put a down payment down or anything. You just went to go see this open house of this beautiful house that when you walked in the door you didn't think you could afford it, but now you're treating it like, well, yeah, I can afford it, and I just bought this thing and I'm living here and this is what it's like to live here, and then you're doing your little victory dance, and you just keep going with that. Yeah, that makes total sense. Of course, why didn't I think of that before?
But what you'll find as well, because in my experience of doing this, because we've got the house on the market now and we're looking at bigger houses, which is exactly what you're talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
So we found a house that we really liked. That's out of our. I'm not going to say that because that's the wrong thing to say. And that's a negative thing to say. So I'm going to reel that back in. That from my previous belief system would have been out of my price range, but isn't now.
Sure.
Isn't now.
Yep.
And the reason it isn't now is because we've gone down the route of viewing the house. We've put the offer in on the house. The offer on the house has been accepted. Then we've looked into mortgages. And the mortgages for getting that house suddenly are within what we can do as a family. And things have turned up to allow us to be able to do. I'm not going to go into them because they're personal, but things have happened for me and my wife that have allowed us to have enough money coming in to be able to up and get a mortgage on that property that we want.
In other words, what previously seemed impossible now all of a sudden seems not only possible but certain.
Certain, yeah. But not only that, the house that we put the offer in on, we were having a bit of a. We were microshifting again. And my belief system was still not where it needed to be. So we got a phone call 2 days after we put the offer in, it had been accepted. We got a phone call saying, somebody else has put a higher offer in, so the house is gone now and it's been sold.
Oh my.
And I was like, I did that. I've done that. So I changed my mindset again and we started moving down the route of moving towards the things that we needed in order to be able to get to where we wanted.
Right.
Because we stopped. We put the offer in and stopped.
Yeah.
Didn't celebrate.
Yeah.
Didn't celebrate that we put the offer in and we accepted.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped. So then this happened. But then we started going down the road again and celebrated that this house was ours. We started planning which car would go in which garage, where the dog would sleep, all these different things. Which flooring we put down in the kitchen. What we'd do with the garden, we'd get some decking, we'd have a barbecue over there, we'd build this, build that, do this. And all those things started to happen again. And then another 3 days later, we got another phone call. The house sale's fallen through, it's back on the market. So,
crazy. Unbelievable.
That you can change and move things around as you wish.
Yeah.
As long as you're going down the right track and thinking in the right way.
That's remarkable. That's just crazy. By the way, Jason followed up with a comment. We have a question from Sarah too. We'll get to that in a moment. But Jason followed up with a comment. He says, "I'm actually out of state from where I want to move, but I found an apartment I really want. So what can he do at that point now?"
Go and look at it. Go and sit in it. Go feel what it feels like.
Well, if the apartment is out of state, that might be a little bit tricky for him right now. If the apartment's in a completely different state, it may be too far of a journey to do just to go check out an apartment.
Or is he wanting to move to a different state? I'm sort of misunderstanding. Or is he wanting that apartment in his state?
He wants to move to a different state and find the new apartment in that state. But he hasn't currently made the move yet. So he's trying to do this visualizing before he actually makes the move to help him get the apartment so he can actually move.
But he needs to put in... I say you need to put in some action. So I'd make the effort to go and have a look at it, even if it is out of state. So what? If you really want that apartment, you're still going to get. You're never going to go and put an offering on an apartment that you haven't been in. Surely, I wouldn't.
This is true.
So I'd still make the effort. I'd go there and I'd go and sit in this to make sure it is right. Because it might not be. You might get there and not like it.
and I agree with that from my own experience, because when Louise and I moved from Virginia to Connecticut, that's exactly what we needed to do. We needed to get an apartment here in Connecticut, and we had to make a special trip from Virginia to Connecticut. In fact, we had to do it twice, because the first trip we came up, we knew what the apartment was we were going to look at. We got up here. The person who was supposed to meet us didn't meet us, disappeared, and the apartment got taken by somebody else. So we wasted a trip. And we said, oh no, this is terrible. We went, and we were low on funds, so like making a trip was a major deal for us. It was a big deal. And so we had to kind of go home with our tails between our legs, like, what are we going to do? I mean, how on earth are we going to afford a second trip up there, let alone make the move? You know, how's this all going to happen? We had no idea. And then this was in October, come the first of the new year, I don't remember exactly how we did it, but we literally scraped together the money to drive north one more time to try to find an apartment, and to also find her a job, because she needed to get a job in the new location as well. So we had to do both, and we had to do it in one weekend. So it had to be done really quickly, and we pulled it off. We actually got that. We got both the apartment and a job for her, and then realized we had 2 weeks in order to complete the entire move that we hadn't planned for. So it was like a crazy series of events that happened after that, and I detailed that in a story that I published. But the point is, we did have to go make that trip. If we hadn't made that trip the second time, especially, the first time was kind of like a trial run that didn't work properly. You know, we certainly didn't celebrate. We were in a bad mood afterward. Looking back now, based on what we're talking about here, we actually did the right thing without realizing it. We didn't try to salve our wounds. We didn't try to go have a drink or something like that to celebrate the fact that we hadn't gotten the apartment. We just felt miserable. We said, we don't want to keep feeling this. So we changed our mindset and made the change, and second trip up, then we did find what we needed. So I agree with you. You have to go see the apartment, but you also have to do it starting with the mindset that you need. You have to, before you even go out there. If you go out with the mindset that you're not going to be able to find it, or that you can't afford it, like what happened to us the first trip, then guess what? We couldn't find it, and we couldn't do either one.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what it's about, because you've got to get to a place where you've already decided that thing's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So you're already making the choices and taking the actions and feeling the feelings of it already happening. Now, one of those actions, if you're just sat there looking for an apartment, but actually not wanting to make choices in alignment with being able to actually move into the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be speaking to the agent, organising to go and view it, going up to the area, checking the area out, making sure you like the area, getting excited about it, working out how you're going to afford it. Well, not working out how you're going to afford it, but deciding on, do you need a job up there? Do you need this? So what you've got to think about is you've got a whole reality around everything that you're trying to create. It's not just a new job. It's not just an apartment. It's not just a car. If you look at, let's take the apartment, for example. You're looking at an apartment. Also around that, if you've got kids, you're going to have schools.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a job.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have, well, not necessarily a job if you've got your own business, fine. But if you're going to be looking at supermarkets, places to eat, all these different things. If you're just focusing on the apartment, but nothing else in the reality around it, then you've got nothing to anchor all these feelings and wonderful things that are going to happen once you get in the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be an apartment, and you're not going to go out. What's the point in that?
Right.
So if you think about it, you're creating the whole reality around this thing as well. So you're creating the school. You go up there to see the school for the kids. How wonderful's the school? That's great. The kids liked it. Right, okay. Jobs. You're applying for jobs up there. You've been for a few interviews. One's turned up. Fantastic. That's that bit sorted. So you're creating everything that you need in order to have that apartment anyway. Mm-hmm. So the whole reality of the thing has to fall into place because you're putting the energy in and the action in and making the choices that are going to allow that to turn up for you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. And in fact, it makes sense, especially in light of what Jason followed up with. He says he's planning to move to Arizona from Michigan, which is about, I'm guessing, about a 2,000 to 2,500 mile move. This is a long, long distance move. And I think he probably mentioned that in the context of, that's a long way to go to, to search for the apartment and so forth. So it just kind of reinforces what you're talking about. You have to make sure you've got it planned out. You're going to be doing all these things so that trip becomes a worthwhile trip. You got it all worked out in your head. I'm going to celebrate this. 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 I'm celebrating all these little good things that are going to happen when I find the apartment that's next to the school district that's just right, which is within a short drive to my job, which is near where all the shopping. I mean, all that stuff that you were listing. Yeah, you have to be willing to and ready to celebrate all of those things.
But have you seen what you're also doing there? Because that made it. Something just came to me whilst you were going through that list again. Whilst you're going through that, as you're playing out the story in your mind of living in this place, this new place, it's very similar to the negative stories that your subconscious mind plays out around worrying.
Very true.
If you look at it, exactly the same process. So, I don't know, if you're going into work and your boss has said he wants to see you in his office in the morning, first thing. So your mind's going to be going, what does he want to see me about? Am I going to lose my job? Or what happens if I lose my job? Or what happens if I need to pay my mortgage? I'm going to lose my house. Or what happens anywhere to live? It's exactly the same
Spiral.
process. All you're doing is you're spiraling it in a way, you're spiraling it by choice instead.
Yeah.
So you're making the choices of which way your mind's going to spiral, which then creates the reality around you that all turns up. Fucking awesome. Sorry for swearing. but that's how it works. I mean, I had a client the other day that's got a new job. And she focused on the new job. She got a new job, which is great. Brilliant. Celebrate that. Fantastic. But actually, it was a job that allows her to spend more time with the kids, spend time pursuing her dream that she's got. I won't tell you what that is, but she's pursuing her dream, going off and spending time with her husband, all these things that she couldn't do previously. And so, but have you celebrated all these other things that have come from getting that? And did you think about that whilst you were doing it? It's like, well, actually I did. When I think about it, I was doing this, thinking about this, and said, well, that's why it's turned up. Yeah. Because you've had all these different reasons and stories going on that are allowing that to happen.
Now, Jason has a follow-up question. And Sarah, we haven't forgot your question. We're going to get there in a moment, but I want to make sure we get Jason's questions answered. He says, now, I've spoken to the landlord about the lease already, and I have a good feeling, but I'm just curious, how do I solidify it?
I don't know. I can't comment because I don't know what the situation is, Jason, unfortunately. I know you've spoken to the landlord about the lease. What else have you done? Is it just that, or
that's all he said? So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, what you're pointing at is what are all the other details that you have to celebrate. Once you know what the other details are, then you know what to celebrate.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can celebrate that because that's a choice that you've made towards the goal that you want to get to. So celebrate that you've done that. Excuse me, and work out what the next things are. Start looking at things. You can do a lot of it online anyway. Because you can look at the schools, you can look at this, you can look at that, you can see what's best for you, whatever you're doing. I don't know your situation, so those things are going to be different for every single person that's doing it, obviously. Depending on what they need and want.
Right.
But yeah, just go off and work out all the different things that are going to be conducive with you moving into that apartment. All the little details. It's not about massive things, it doesn't have to be massive things. It can be, where's the nearest shop to buy a tin of beans or some sausages, I don't know. It's simple as simple, things like that. That are just everyday things that your subconscious can anchor onto.
And those are actually the best things. I'm now really appreciating how important those small things are. Because they give you the exact same dose of dopamine. They give you the exact same dose of feel-good. It's just that it's a smaller thing, that's all. But the experience is just as powerful.
Which is the best pizza shop? Do they deliver to that apartment? Am I in the catchment area for good pizzas? Things like that. Just random things.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Now, I do want to get to Sarah's question. Sarah says, when you say celebrating, how do you mean? What do you do when you celebrate?
different for everybody. You'll know this well. But the way I do it, I've got a certain happy song that I put on, which is something that makes me feel absolutely awesome. So if I've done something, I'll put that on to get myself into that state whilst focusing on the action or thing that I've created or wanting to create.
Right.
If I'm trying to anchor it in. So that's one of mine. I'll also just silly and stupid. I'll run around in circles making silly noises like I'm a child. Just anything like that gets you into a state of joy. Just become a kid. That's what I do. Just start acting childish.
That's a good way to think about it. Just behave like a kid. And I can't remember who said it to me. Somebody said to me recently, I think it was Linda Armstrong, said to me, imagine how like a 6-year-old runs when they're excited. They don't run with perfect form. They run kind of all over the place. You know, there's no form at all for a 6-year-old who's celebrating. It's just kind of wild exuberance. So let yourself be wildly exuberant.
Yeah. I either put my happy song on or I do exactly that. I'll run around the kitchen, just it might sound stupid. I don't care because it gets me results.
That's why when I told my story, that's why I said I looked around to make sure there was nobody else there. And once I knew nobody else was there, then it was okay. I could kind of go crazy and nobody would make fun of me. There'd be nobody who'd be saying, what the hell is he doing? It was okay, because I was safe.
I'll do it anyway. I don't care.
Well, you probably would, actually. Based on what I know about you, you probably would. Now, we also have we have a celebration success story to tell, because Angela posted on the post associated with this live stream her own success story. She titles it LOA Success, ! She says, congrats, I want to share. 3 years ago, I wanted to manifest a job at BMW. I wanted $20 an hour, and I wanted to manifest a house. Well, I manifested my job at BMW, but it was a lot less than the hourly wage I wanted. 2 weeks after I started the job, I got a call for another job I applied for exactly what I asked for. The job was a bit far from where I lived, but I took it, and after 2 months, the owner said he owned a rental property and asked me if I wanted to rent it with the option to buy so I would not have to commute so far. So literally, the LOA gave me all 3 things I asked for.
There you go. There you go.
And I'm willing to bet that she did some celebrating in there, too.
I would think so.
Yeah, because otherwise she wouldn't have had that sequence.
Yeah, things still do turn up if you're not celebrating, but you can speed the process up.
Well, when you get the sequence almost invariably means some sort of celebrating happened. I mean, whenever I'm thinking about manifestations, I always think about that story I told a few minutes ago about how we had to make the move. Because that story is actually like 4 or 5 stories all wrapped in one. It was about finding a new place to move, getting rid of old vehicles that were on their last legs, getting brand new vehicles, finding some cats, actually some cats that found us. 2 of them we had to find homes for because we couldn't bring them all with us. I mean, there were like 4 or 5 stories all wrapped up into one. And they all happened, well, I mean, there was like a lead up that happened over like a 6-month period. But the crisis, if you will, for all 4 or 5 of them happened within like a 2-week period. And so it was an intense 2-week period. But as I look back on it, and I've told the story many times from a variety of different viewpoints, starting points, as I look back on it, I realize there were times we were celebrating. We were not doing it deliberately. We were doing it like oh, good, something went right. Hooray. Thank goodness something went right. I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of this, but something went right. So it wasn't a big celebration, but it was a celebration. And I can now see that those celebrations, as small as they were, and they were often pretty small, because we were still pretty scared about what was going on. I mean, literally everything was, in one sense, falling apart for us, and in another sense, it was all coming together. When you have that degree of change going on, it's let's put it this way: you're not in your comfort zone anymore. You're way outside. The comfort zone is like 25 miles away.
That's exactly where you should be all of the time.
I understand that now. At the time, I would have said, no, please, I can't take this anymore.
But the comfort zone bores me now. I can't sit in comfort zone very long. I get withdrawal symptoms from not being outside of my comfort zone. It's a strange situation, but yeah, I used to be. I wouldn't ever leave my comfort zone when I was. If you look at me, 6-7 years ago.
Well, it's when you're used to being there, it's a scary thing to think about, to contemplate. Leaving that comfort zone, that's terrifying. When you're there,
but now I enjoy it because I know there's nothing to be scared of.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? You can end up back where you used to be. So what? Nothing to lose, is there?
Well, actually, now that I'm spending more time outside the comfort zone, that does seem like something to lose. Going back to the comfort zone seems like something to lose, you know? Like, oh my God, I'm back in the comfort zone again. Oh no, I lost that wonderful place I was in.
Yeah, when you put it like that.
So, yeah. So thanks for the questions we've been getting. If you have more questions, feel free to type them into the live stream comment section. We'll be able to address them or just bring up whatever celebrations you want to bring up that have been good. But in the meantime, we'll just continue. We got like 8 minutes left, and actually, I want to make sure I do this. I have been forgetting in the last week or so. I've been remembering to do my promos, but I've been forgetting them for quite some time. So I want to get the promos in now, and then we can finish up with some wrap up. But promo is very simple. If you're not yet a subscriber to the podcast, look at the great stuff that you get when you become a subscriber, and they come streaming to your smartphone live every single time. Live and, well, actually, a podcast by definition is not live, so I should change that. They come streaming to your smartphone immediately after they get published. That's what I was trying to get to. And it's free. It's totally free. So just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net. Right at the top of the page, you'll see this great big icon that says click here for connecting your device, and miraculously it'll be for your kind of device. So if you have an iPhone, it'll say click here to subscribe using an iPhone, or if you have an Android phone, it'll say click here to subscribe using an Android phone, because it's now a smart website. It can tell the difference between what kind of phone you have. And then you just click it and walk it through the steps, and it just walks you through the steps, actually. You just say yes, 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 yes. And then you're subscribed. All the episodes are coming to your smartphone every single time that we publish them. And then once you're a subscriber, make sure that you are sharing that fact each time that you listen to an episode, and tell other people so they can get their daily dose of happy. And that's how we spread the word about learning how to do things like microshifting, and learning how to celebrate all the little victories that come along the way, and just how powerful that kind of a process is. That's just one of the many things you learn when you become a subscriber at LOA Today. So there's our promos for the day, Steve. So let's go back to doing a little summarizing. We got about 6 minutes left. Let's do a little summarizing about what we've learned about microshifting today.
That it's wonderful. It's just a nice, simple, and easy way to get your subconscious, to change your mindset, and more importantly, your belief systems, gradually towards where you want them to be, rather than trying to make one big jump that seems impossible and then failing and ended up back where you were in old cycles. It's nice to just be able to level up slowly, which is more comfortable for your subconscious mind and your belief systems to cope with. But equally, the more you do that, and the more that you celebrate each time that you've done that, it becomes eventually habitual, so that around the thing that you're trying to microshift your beliefs around, all of a sudden you'll find yourself making bigger and bigger and bigger leaps, so that actually the time taken to get somewhere reduces massively than trying to make one big leap failing, one big leap failing, one big leap failing, and never getting there. Mm-hmm. You eventually get there through lots of little, what we call microshifts, in your mindset and your belief system, so that you're actually making progress. And really good, solid progress that's going to last and not going to fade away like it always has done before. I think that's it in a nutshell, really.
It is, and I want to underline your word progress there, because I know the first time I heard the microshifting story, I thought the progress was progressing up the scale to larger and larger things, but that's not what the progress is. The progress is experiencing over and over and over again that dopamine surge for having successfully attracted something. And when you understand it that way, now the incremental increase doesn't make a whole lot of difference anymore. Now all that matters is getting that dopamine each time.
or the serotonin or whatever else. I don't know. Dopamine, serotonin. We'll have them all.
Well, yeah, all the endorphins, they're all good.
But it works because it's not such a big shock, and you're not moving massively out of your comfort zone each time. So you still got that cushion of safety, if you like. So you don't feel too exposed into something that's too much to handle, which is a great way of doing it because you don't run a mile, you don't get scared, you don't fail. I mean, there is no failure anyway. All we do is make choices. If it doesn't work, we haven't failed. We've just learned something and we'll do it differently next time.
Right.
But we can do that and shift so much easier if we do it in baby steps.
Absolutely. Yeah, those baby steps are really powerful.
Sorry, go on.
No, I'm waiting for you to say also. Also, there's another shoe to drop. Let's find out what the other shoe is.
Well, what I was going to say, I've put a post on Facebook, but I'll share it with your listeners as well. So I'm actually offering right now one free coaching session with me, but only if you mention LOA today. So you can either message me through Facebook on Messenger at Steve Rowell, or you can find me on Instagram at steve.rowell. You can send me a direct message on there. Alternatively, go on Facebook and add me as a friend, and you can find the post and just follow the instructions on the post, and then I'll contact you and you get one free coaching session where we'll go through the law of attraction stuff, because I give the law of attraction stuff away for free anyway, because I don't think anyone should have to pay for that, because it's a universal law like gravity and we don't pay for gravity. So, right, I've never charged anyone to teach.
It's true, yeah.
Mindset stuff's a little bit different because that takes time and effort.
Yeah.
It's an involved thing to do. But yeah, if someone wants a free coaching session I'll walk you through what I do, how it works. We'll talk about the law of attraction, get you creating something. Just drop me a line and we'll get moving.
Just mentioned LOA today. That's great. Thank you for making that offer. That's wonderful. And also, Jason said something after I made my announcement. Maybe I need to clarify. He says, can I catch recordings of the shows? Yes, Jason, that's what the podcast is. The podcast is a collection of recordings of the shows. So go through the process. Subscribe. Get all those shows coming to your smartphone as they get published. That's the whole point. A lot of people, I think I've confused people, Steve, actually, by doing the live streaming of the podcast, because they begin to believe that a podcast is a live stream. That's actually not what a podcast originally was. It comes from the word pod or iPod. A podcast is literally a recording of a show or of a music show or whatever for playing on an iPod. And the only way to do that is to actually pre-record it so that it can be downloaded onto the iPod. That's what a podcast is. So yes, Jason, you can get all the recordings of the show just by subscribing to the podcast. So just go to the homepage, loatoday.net, and it'll walk you right through it. Just click the link there, and you'll be a subscriber, and you'll get every single recording that we do. So there you go. I'm sorry if I didn't. I apologize if I didn't explain that carefully enough before. So hopefully, did I make sense now, Steve? Did that actually make sense the way I said that? Okay.
It makes sense to me. I don't know what a podcast is either.
I just realized a lot of people wouldn't know. Yeah. The live stream is like an added feature that we do. That's something that most podcasts don't do. We do the live stream in addition to the fact that we're recording the podcast. But yeah, the podcast is just a pre-recorded thing. We're doing the pre-recording, and you're watching it if you're listening to the live stream. But most of our listeners, like 98% of our listeners, they're listening to the podcast. They're listening to the recorded stuff. So, you're joining the ranks right there. So, Steve, thank you for giving that special offer to everybody. I really, really appreciate that very much. And thank you for giving us all this wonderful information about microshifting. I mean, this is something that I think it's going to be a theme going forward for us to talk more and more about it. But wow, what a powerful process.
It is a powerful process, and it needs. The thing is, though, you do need someone to facilitate it for you, and have regular contact. Because
yes,
when you start, sometimes if you're not getting the progress that you want, you will get disheartened with it.
Sure.
But it's then about somebody else having a look at what you've done and actually saying, but you have made a lot of progress. Because sometimes you can beat yourself up even if you've taken a little dip.
Yeah.
But actually, you've gone from right down here to right up here, and you've dipped that much, so you've moved all this way, but you don't realise because
So
you
there
haven't
it
got
is.
somebody from the outside looking in.
There's a reason you get a coach then right there, or to listen to the podcast, so you can have that regular contact to help you stay on that positive side. And like, don't worry about if this didn't work this particular time. You just need to make a shift, and we're helping you make the shift. So yeah, that's a good reason to get a coach. So on that happy note, I will say, Steve, I will see you on Thursday. It'll be Thursday evening for you, Thursday afternoon for me here. So I'm looking forward to that. And thank you to our live stream and our podcast listeners. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Celebrating the podcast.